Welcome to another St. Pete by Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warring forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. Rock and never hide.
Good evening and welcome back to St. Petersburg by Night. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete by Night, and it's Tuesday night, so you know what that means. It's Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa, right across the bay from St. Petersburg, Florida. And it is our pack of Guru that have been struggling to fight back against the Tampa Camarilla and have been gaining ground as they have established a cairn in the city of Tampa, which has long since been abandoned by the forces of the Guru. But we'll be getting back to that in just a moment. It's the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. And if you're like me, you've been white-knuckling it through today and doing everything you can to distract yourself as the country makes a very, very important decision. And as of 10 o'clock tonight, they might be making the wrong decision, but that's for you to decide. We will leave that up to your individual feelings on the matter. But we're going to do our best to entertain you tonight. If you are watching live, we are going to do our best to delight you and take your mind off of what is happening all throughout the country of these United States. So let's take a moment to introduce our amazing players that make this chronicle possible. Players, take it away.
Hey everybody, my name's Preston. I play Aiden Goodspeed, the Arun of the Galestalkers.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne, Impulsive, whatever you want to call me, and I'll be playing Aspen Wise, Philodox of the Silverfangs.
Hi everybody, I'm Nori and I'll be playing Malicious Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hi everybody, I'm Walks, and I will be playing Lucas Shaw, the Ragabash of the Shadow Lords.
Champ, I will say that I am going to rate your title this evening a hot red, because that matches your hair color, which is brilliant, by the way. It is absolutely phenomenal, and I love it so, so much. So as I said, where we left off, we were a couple of, actually like 3 weeks in the past as the city of Tampa had just experienced back-to-back hurricanes in Helene and Milton. And our pack of Guru felt the effects of both of those hurricanes. With Hurricane Helene, they had to help Eliza, the Stargaze Theurge, show contrition for having abandoned her post, suffering the effects of Hirano and having lost the wolf for the past decade. And as the Right Master of the area, she had not fulfilled her duties of appeasing the storm for over a decade. In doing so, it seems that it wasn't quite enough to appease the storm, and so they returned with a righteous fury in the form of Milton. Confronting the storm, dispatching banes of various forms along the way, you came face to face with the storm itself, battling spirits of wind, then eventually battling the storm, who produced various appendages, arms, fists of great might. You went into direct conflict. But something within you, whether it was rage, whether it was purpose, whether it was the might of Gaia itself, caused you to be able to overpower this spirit. To be able to go toe-to-toe with a mighty force as storm itself, to the point that you were able to gain enough of its respect to hold it at bay long enough for a conversation to decide whether or not it could possibly be appeased. Now, gaining its respect, appeasing it, wasn't going to stop what had already begun. When a storm starts, it's not as simple as turning it off like a light switch. When it starts, it will see its purpose through. Destruction will be caused. It will cycle all the way through. But what that means for the future, what that means for the next hurricane season, remains to be seen. So after a long debate, Aspen and Jester managed to convince the storm that they could potentially prove to it that the Guru were back, that the duties would be fulfilled, and that Eliza wasn't worth sacrificing, despite the fact that she had failed in the past. That her wisdom was necessary for these young Guru to continue on. That she would be needed in the days to come, so that these duties could be picked up once again and fulfilled. The storm seemed content with that, but it asked for another sacrifice in return. A sacrifice of the Weaver. And it demanded that the pack deliver within the next 30 days. If not, it would take a sacrifice of its own. Tonight's story takes place over the next couple of weeks as we try to catch up to the present, try to get us caught up to current day. Our story tonight begins with Lucas. Lucas, in the wake of the devastation caused by Hurricanes Helene and Milton, now that everything has settled for the most part, you've decided to seek out one of your touchstones, Luis, one of the kind of head gardeners and administrators at the Botanical Gardens in Tampa. Luis is a older woman of Latin descent, probably in her late 40s, maybe even early 50s, On this particular day, she is wearing very much a lot of protective gear, long sleeves, big, heavy gloves, large wader boots as she moves through 2 or 3 inch deep mud and sloshing water. This area has seen a great deal of destruction, needless to say, and the botanical gardens have been closed ever since the storm. Now, they did put as much precaution as they could. They tried to cover up as much as they could, but there's only so much you can do. The botanical gardens are greenhouses, and while you can put up barricades, you can try to block as much as possible. Windows were broken. Some damage was done that simply can't be repaired. You can give plants root, you can try to tie them down, but these winds of upwards of 120 to 140 miles per hour, they're going to do what they're going to do, and they did exactly that. So with a great deal of sadness in her eyes, she works, resolute as ever, to try and clean up the mess. And she directs others, volunteers working alongside her, to try and clean up, hauling massive amounts of detritus and debris away from the site, trying to clear a path and trying to decide what can be salvaged from the area. Putting her hands on her hips, she turns to you. I'm so glad you were able to make it, Lucas. Thank you for coming out.
I'm sorry that I couldn't get here sooner. Wow. Okay, where do you want me? What do you need done?
She wipes some sweat from her forehead. Hi, where to begin? I suppose the best thing you can do is see what... Adios. Let's start over here. Let's look at some of the seasonal plants, see what can still be salvaged for the upcoming season, for the fall. There are some that might still take bloom. There are likely others that will not. If they will not, we should try to salvage what bulbs can for the next season. Remove any others that will rot and likely spoil the dirt. You know what to do. Rotate any plants that can be rotated. Anything that blew in that might intermingle, anything invasive should be removed. I trust you. Anything that you can do to put my mind at ease, I would be grateful for.
Yeah, I think that might have been my actual question: is what I could do for you? You look awful. Why don't you come over here and sit down and get some water?
See.
I'll grab a couple of bottles of water and take one for myself and hand one to her. This is rough. What? I mean, yeah, we're gonna do what we can, but how extensive do you think this is gonna be? I mean, what's gonna be the recovery from this? Our yield after this is gonna be terrible. We're gonna need to do something.
I don't know, to be honest. It could take weeks, maybe even months to recover, but it is not going to be a priority. There are so many other things that are going to be in the minds of the government, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously, the economy is going to take a great hit from this. Tourism, it is not going to be a high priority for places such as this. It is not going to come first. There are those that can help, possibly fundraising, but this is going to be an expensive endeavor, And while there are those who are generous to offer their time and offer their efforts, it's going to take a lot of time and quite likely a lot of money to do. And we just have to hope for the generosity of those that are willing to give. But everyone and everything is impacted by this. Even our wealthiest of donors are likely going to feel the pinch of this storm. Many of them had residences along the beach and likely probably felt a great deal of destruction from this. And sure, we had insurance, but insurance adjusters have their hands full, to say the least. This is not going to be a high priority.
I might know somebody if you run into any kind of legal snags with the insurance. I might have an idea of somebody that could help you. Friend of mine.
Well, any help is good help, of course, but I would not ask anybody to go out of their way or trouble themselves. We will do what we can, and we will survive. We will persist. We always have. We always will.
I have a sinking sensation that she would be probably okay with providing you some assistance. But I'll handle that. I'll talk about that. You, yeah, you don't worry about that. Just let me know if you have any issues.
What about you, Lucas? How have you made it through the storm? Have you had power return yet? What about your residence? Where are you staying?
A friend. Uh, I was staying with a friend. Most of my stuff's there. It's an above a garage place, so I mean, what few things I have were fine. I moved all my starters up to the top of the shelves, and you know, I don't know if they had power the entire time, but I had a generator for a little bit, so I think they got enough light. I just tried to keep them out of the rain and out of the salty storm surge that was coming out of it. So that's fine. But no, I spent most of the storm with some friends of mine, just trying to help, just trying to help other people, trying to help them.
Fortunately, the second storm wasn't so bad for my neighborhood as the first was. It seemed to do quite a number on the peninsula, more so this time than the first one did. But we luckily did not lose power this time, so we have maintained it. Allowed me more time to be spent here. Unfortunately, it did do much more damage to this place than the first one did. Not that there wasn't damage done the first time, but that just added to it, of course.
Two back to back. That's unreal.
Over a
I, mean,
100 years, they say, since we've had
I,
such an event.
I'm used to snow and wind, and that was unlike anything. Those were my first 1/2. So wow,
Welcome to
that's something.
Florida.
Yeah, yeah, first year here and historic event seems to follow me. Um, yeah, okay. You mentioned uh invasives?
See, well, with such storms, it tends to cast a lot into the air. Such things can bring things even as far from as Mexico. Such things get pulled up into the air and circle and cycle, and it could bring things from even from that far away. A Category 5 storm, that is quite a large storm, and with winds as high as that, it can keep such things in the air for quite some time. And this was, as you say, a historic storm, and it's blowing things from far around. So Florida is a land known for invasive species, and this garden specializes in species from all over the place. Now we run the risk after this storm of cross-pollination of species intermingling with one another that we work diligently to separate from one another. We put the efforts in, but with the glass breaking, with the planters being knocked over, trees breaking, well, we just have to see what effects it may have.
Before the storm, were you having any other issues with invasives?
Well, constantly. I mean, more so in the parks, not really in the gardens here specifically, but in some of the parks in the area. See, there are efforts constantly being made to try and push back some of the invasive species, but yes, there have been efforts made. And there have been issues with them.
It's interesting.
Even Spanish moss is an invasive species.
Yeah, but it's so pretty.
It isn't that. But it is not native.
No, it's not.
Even the palm tree is not a native species. It was imported. It is pretty, sure, but it is not native.
This place is. It's like a melting pot of everything.
Even
People,
the people.
plants, food. Yeah, my friends that I've kind of gotten close to, they're real different. So yeah, this place is pretty interesting. Distracted, but so nothing like no ridiculous levels of invasives here, but just out in the parks.
Nothing specific that I have seen here, no. We have done a pretty good job of maintaining the grounds, but we are always on the lookout for certain.
Okay. How are your supply levels?
Supply levels before this were good, but depending on how much the recovery efforts are necessary, supplies could be dwindling, depending afterwards. Right now we have a good stock, but we'll see how things are afterwards.
Well, I mean, we're gonna need to repot, resow, replant. I mean, we're gonna need an astronomical amount of fertilizer.
See?
Where are we gonna get that?
Well, thankfully, I think that most in the area will be primarily focused on the insides of their homes than the outsides. I don't think many are going to focus on landscaping right away. So, hopefully, if we are able to secure funding or dip into what reserves we have, we can get resources or use some of our resources to buy from some of the local goods stores and bulk up our stock to get what we need for a while. Hopefully they will not run out, but shipments into the area for a while, I mean, stores are going to run out fairly quickly until they can restock, until it is safe to bring supplies down here. I mean, the coastline and many of the interstates coming through here were already in bad shape after Helene, and now with Milton, getting here is already difficult. They were already trying to clear up the roadways, and then the second storm hit. There is debris everywhere. Now, they've already made a pretty good effort, and they're well on their way, but it's going to take a great deal of time. They're still trying to restore power. I mean, it's priorities.
Do you have power at your house?
See.
Okay. Just making sure. If you didn't, I had somewhere you could go. Okay, so say we are going to secure funding. I might have an idea about that. If you are going to get things, like if I can get my hands on some stuff for you, where do you want me to bring it? Where do you want me to drop it off at?
The gardens here, they are closed to the public. You have been quite helpful. I will secure you a copy of the keys, and you can come
Okay.
by and just drop them off when you have time. I may not be here, but I trust you enough to bring by whatever you can.
That's fine. That's what I was thinking. Like I work weird hours, so if I can get my hands on something and get it to you, then yeah.
You have been more than helpful. Anything you can do would be most appreciated.
Well, just don't ask too many questions.
At this point, I don't think anybody could.
Good, good. Um, one more question. Have you heard of any new operations before the hurricane that have sprung up? Any new entities, any new research groups or facilities?
Um, operations. What do you mean?
I think, and I'm not sure because I'm not going to make any assumptions, that there is a new research group here that's studying plants. And I don't know if they reached out to you, if they reached out to the college. I don't know anybody at the college. You're the only one I know, but it seems just, I don't know, doesn't smell right.
Well, I know that there was a an individual that came by talking about offering internship opportunities that were becoming available, but that is not overly unusual. Looking for botany opportunities and lab research technicians, but that is, I mean, there are a lot of research facilities around here. But that, again, they come through pretty regularly around rotations. Can't say I had seen them before, though, but again, changeover is not unusual.
Do you remember what they look like?
This one stood out. Usually they have forgettable faces, but this particular woman, she was striking, to say the least. Her face was unforgettable. Very, very attractive. Uh, eyes that look like she could stare through you. I remember them even now.
Blonde hair, kind of tall.
See, you've seen this woman.
That's why I'm asking the questions. I had an interaction with, like I said, a new entity that I don't know much about, but is doing some research out somewhere, specifically on invasive species. So, uh, yeah, it just feels weird.
She visited the gardens, not when she came by the college, and the way she walked through the plants, it was like she was listening to them. I have seen some people have interesting relationships with the plants before. I mean, we've even had to shoo some people off, but this was unusual. Again, why it stood out.
Yeah. Okay. Um, just if you don't mind, if she comes back, can you let me know?
Of course,
And was there an area particularly that she was very interested in?
not that I could say.
Okay. Okay. I'm grilling you. I apologize.
It's okay. It's nice to talk about something other than the storm and what needs to be done.
If I keep asking you questions, you'll stay sitting down and get some rest because I know you well enough to know you'll just stand right up.
That you do. That being said, I should probably get back to it.
Okay, I'm gonna grab my gear and take a walk around and see where I can best start getting to work.
See, gracias, Lucas.
Luis, you please watch out for yourself.
I will. I know that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it will take time, and I will be sure to take rest when I can. Just the initial cleanup must happen quickly, because the more this stuff settles, the more damage it can do.
Okay, well, I'll go get my stuff.
See. You head off to get your supplies. Is there anything else you wish to do before we move on?
I would like to, as I go around, just doing work where I can do work, see if I can spot anything that I remember seeing at the Piney Point greenhouse.
Sure, give me a wits and investigation.
Are we at rage 2?
Yes.
4 successes.
As you're moving through the area, it's really, really difficult to tell at first because there is a lot of debris, a lot of detritus. The area is not as familiar as it was before. But as you are making your way through the rows and trying to get a lay of the land once more, you do move past one of the planter boxes. And as you do, this planter box has been, you could tell it was tipped over and then set aright. And in doing so, as it's set aright, on the ground at the base of the planter box, you can see that there's a cracked corner of the planter box at the bottom where you can see vines coming out of the bottom of the planter box as if something has been growing from deep within the dirt and started to spread out of the bottom, kind of starting to crawl its way out of the bottom of the planter box, trying to break through the concrete into the ground down below.
I'll take out a pair of shears and I'll take a clipping, a decent sized clipping of those viney roots and put them in a bag with just a little paper towel and a couple of spritzes of water and then seal that bag up.
Okay.
And then I'll get to work.
Okay. With a new mystery to be solved, there's still a lot of work to be done. But you do have that lingering question, a new puzzle picking at the back of your mind. We move on now to Aspen. Aspen, you have had a lot going on in your life over the past year. But one mission, one task, one job has remained consistent. A goal you've been chasing, a goal you've never strayed from, a goal that you have finally accomplished, a goal that no storm, no leech, no tragedy could deter you from. For on this day, as you find yourself riding in Regina back from the city of Tallahassee, several hours away from the city of Tampa, earlier today you took your oath as an attorney of the state of Florida. Artie sits next to you dressed in a suit that you helped him purchase at a thrift store. Suit and tie, all buttoned up, his dreads pulled back in a very stylish kind of ponytail behind. You have a certificate on your lap, dressed in a very nice kind of dress suit of your own. He reaches over and takes your hand, giving it a squeeze. I'm really glad I got to be there today. I can't tell you how proud I am of you.
Been a long time coming. I'm glad you were there too.
She'd be really proud too.
I know.
And now, we can continue the fight for her.
Yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet, you know?
I know. So, what are we going to do to celebrate?
I haven't thought that far ahead. Maybe we just go home, watch a movie.
Okay. He starts up the Jeep, starts driving, getting on the highway. The area is still recovering in its own way, but this area wasn't hit as badly. Didn't even suffer the effects of Milton. This one recovered from Helene, which it did take a little bit more damage from. So as you're driving, you can still see some of it being cleaned up as you have left the courthouse where you were sworn in by a judge and eventually get onto the interstate heading back towards Tampa. He keeps his hand clasping yours, the other hand on the steering wheel. I gotta say, I never thought I was gonna see the inside of a courthouse like that in such an official capacity where I wasn't at the other table, you know, having to testify or defend myself in any capacity. I got to, like, just watch you do something really cool.
Well, get used to it, because hopefully if I can get where I need to go, I'm gonna need my emotional support person there to, get me through all the stress.
You're really good at that thrift store thing. I really thought this was going to itch a lot more than it did.
You just gotta look around. You gotta go to the right spots. See, you go to the fancier spots, you get nicer things for cheap. It's a whole thing. It's a science. It's an art.
Yeah, and the sleeves, I never can find anything that fits quite right. Like, they usually hang too low or too tight, but like you're a master of your craft.
Had a lot of practice. I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you okay? You seemed kind of off when we had that conversation with Aiden.
What do you mean?
Seemed like there were thoughts in the back of your head that you weren't expressing.
There were. I don't have any reason to think that these two things could be connected. I don't have any reason to believe. Because, of course, there's other possibilities, but I started thinking about him and how long he could have been spying on us, how much he could have found out, how much he could have known. And then it made me think, what else could he have been spying on? How much else could he have known? What else did he help them find out? And then I did think of Rachel. And I know they had their sights on her anyway after the whole jail thing, but they can't go out during the day. He could. And while they could get her at night, I don't know. Maybe I'm paranoid about it. But if he knew as much as he knew about us, maybe he was set on us, on finding stuff out. And that made me even more intent on not wanting him around. And I just want to protect you. It's just started to fall into place. Like, he had been around at some pretty key moments, like thinking of the timeline of things, like he was in the picture during some pretty key moments, and he had knowledge of stuff that could be linked back to us. And if he was already on our trail, if he already knew what to look for, if he already had certain pieces of information, I'm trying to think like they think.
I get that.
I just don't want... I worry that even if we try to redeem him, we're just going to give them another weapon back. Because maybe as much as this was coercion, maybe part of this was willingness too.
That's my biggest fear, honestly. If he gets better, if we can get him better, whatever route that takes, what does that mean afterwards? Is he just gonna go back? Because it seems pretty, I don't know, I have a hunch that he's gonna try to protect Jester, and if she says no, then is he just gonna go right back to finding another way?
I know that if I lost you, and I was told that I couldn't get you back no matter what, even if you were right in front of my face, all bets would be off. Like, maybe at first it was coercion, but maybe now it's just what better option is there? What, he's going to go back to normalcy knowing what he knows? That's still a threat to all of us. Or we can't make him like Chloe. We're lucky Chloe is cool with everything. I want to protect you. I want to protect us. And he is a liability, and he's going to continue to be a liability. And I think that the merciful thing in this instance might be the hard thing to do. And I don't like it any more than you do, because we already have more blood on our hands than we should.
That's the hardest thing is, I mean, we all are going to do what we need to do, I'm sure. And we've already done things we didn't want to do. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about how it'll affect Jester, knowing that she can't save him.
I just wonder if the damage has already been done, and if prolonging it is doing more. I wonder if she's not being honest with herself. if she's just doing what she thinks is the humane thing to do, trying to be a good person, which is understandable, obviously, but it's just hurting her to be that rather than just ripping the band-aid off and dealing with that instead. Like mourning the loss rather than trying to fix it, because it's not something that can be fixed. The damage is done. I mean, she barely even got over the breakup. She went through her crazy biker chick phase and rebound with some dude in a bar. Like,
I'd be lying though if I said if you were in that position, if you were in Leon's position, I don't think I could.
if I were in Leon's position, I would never be in Leon's position.
Yeah. Like he made his choices.
I know this is up to her, but you are the alpha, and you have to do what's best for the pack. And if she can't make a choice, if she's going to delay this, maybe you have to. And I know that we'll all stand by you and support you, whatever that choice may be. And again, I get that Spud has helped us so far, but that help's gonna cost us more and more every time we use it.
I know.
I know I'm not saying anything new. I only can talk to you about this because I support you. And I just want to be your conscience, or else I'm failing you.
You know, I don't think it makes much of a difference, I guess. It's just nice to say out loud. Spud doesn't want to be like them. He actively tries to find a way out. So.
But he is like them. You didn't want to be like us, but you are like us. And I'm glad you're like us. Because we need you.
No, you make sense. Bring me back to neutral, and I appreciate you for that.
Maybe he is the one good one among the bad ones, but I highly doubt it. They all still need something that hurts people.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It makes sense. And it seems like there's always something, right?
Yeah. Just something to consider. I don't know. I mean, I've been thinking a lot lately with this whole spirits thing, balance thing. Like, I've been trying to wrap it all around my head, and I get that like a certain amount of the worm is necessary, and I've tried to think like we can't just outright eliminate it, right? Like, we need to have a certain amount of it, so we have to incorporate a certain amount of it in our plans, right? But we've got a lot of it on our plate right now. We've incorporated a lot of it into our plans. So maybe we need to shift, even it out a little bit more.
Well, that's fair. It makes sense. If we don't have to go to Spud anymore, I'd prefer not to.
But also he's a
Give it-
liability, so we need to keep him in check, because if he goes to them about us, it's just complicated. I don't know how you keep it all in check. I'm so glad I'm not in your position, but I hate that you're in your position too.
It's so much fun, let me tell you. Well, as far as the Spud thing goes, I've given his contact to Lucas. I think if anybody's going to keep him in check, Lucas is going to do the best with that. So I'm trying to learn that micromanaging is not my style, and that sometimes I've got to loosen the reins. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying.
You're doing amazing. Don't ever doubt that for a second. And just remember, you don't have to do it alone. You never have to do it alone.
Yeah, I know. I've got you for better, and then I've got the rest of them for better or worse.
Always for better. They are hooligans for sure, but they are our hooligans, and they do what they do with the best intentions. Mixed results, best intentions, and they are on our side.
No, I know. I've grown fond of all of them, even Lucas. As weird as that is to say, I kind of really enjoy his company sometimes.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. I think we're on a track. I mean, we get roadblocks every other day, which is so much fun. But we're getting there. I think we're moving forward instead of staying still. So we can take those little victories and do what we can with them. And yay, lawyer.
It is going to help, but it's also going to put another spotlight on you. So
Yeah,
let's use it sparingly, at least at first.
we got to go find you a spirit so that you don't go crazy in the woods because I need you.
Yeah, I hope Aiden considers all that when he's out there looking, because that is going to be challenging.
I mean, as much as he's a lupus born, the amount of Netflix that kid watches, I think he's going to look for somewhere where he has access to that. So I think
That's
we're
true.
Fingers crossed.
That's true. If there's one thing that I'm glad that he's like latched on to, it's that his dependency on technology has been a benefit to me. That's true.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you asked, but I never want you to worry about that kind of stuff with me. I didn't want to burden you with it. I realized that it was probably paranoid of me to be thinking, but once those pieces started falling into place and I started connecting the dots, I was like, what else could he have been finding out or doing, you know? And I don't even blame Jester for it. I mean, you had me so that you could talk to me, you know? Everybody needs somebody like that. Everybody should have somebody like that.
Yeah. And you're never burdening me by telling me how you feel. So don't forget that either.
Okay. Anyway, enough of that. Gives your hand a squeeze and smiles as he looks back ahead at the road. And it seems like you can see his shoulders relax a little bit more. Even though it didn't seem like they were hunched up by the way that they relax. And his posture kind of sags a little bit more. You could tell that whatever it was, he had been carrying it the entire time. And he
I'll
seems
lean
like-
over and give him a kiss, and then I'll turn up the radio and pat the dashboard, and I'll be like, Regina, give us something good.
And Music starts blaring out of the speakers. Regina starts to speed up on the highway as you continue your way home. Speaking of home, we transition now to Hillsborough State Park, where Aiden is in search of a new home, at least a potential fallback point. Because with the storm, despite their best efforts, damage was still done, to say the very least. Not just by Milton, but by Helene as well. Lettuce Lake Park took a good amount of damage from both storms. Maybe not as bad as it could have been, but the walkways and the area where the RVs were once parked, where the campgrounds once stood, where you once called home, is now a mess of floods. The walkways that once led there are now broken. The boulevards, a mess of fallen trees. And while you in your lupus form could probably find a way to get back there, it's probably going to be a mess for a good while. And there's going to be eyes on that area to recover it as the park tries to find its way back to a good sense of normalcy, and recovery efforts continue for the park as a whole. So Aiden, you've been tasked with the effort of finding a new potential fallback point. With the efforts and the potential of a sacrifice being offered up, conversation has been made of potentially offering up Greer's as a possible sacrifice to the storm. Greer's the place where you have been holding up through the storms and where the RVs are parked now. So as you make your way through the woods, a place that you've hunted pretty regularly throughout your time in Tampa, you know that you've only explored a small percentage of this vast wilderness, because Hillsborough State Park expands inland, a place where very few choose to live, because the further inland you go, the hotter it gets, the less that breeze that comes in off the Gulf and the bay reaches. It gets dank, it gets humid, and it gets nigh unlivable, for the humans at least. In your lupus form, as you pad through the woods, I'd like you to make a wits and survival check as you're starting to get a lay of the land.
Any additionals for being wolfborn?
Yeah, absolutely. You can take an additional 2 dice.
Five.
Okay. So would you say, are Aiden's top priorities as he's trying to find a location? What would you say is most important to Aiden in terms of finding a new campground? He was given some instructions, kind of loose instructions. He wanted to be off the beaten path. They were looking for something a little more remote, a little more in touch with the wild, something less urban, because that seemed to be where the leeches seem to congregate, something a little further out based off of your conversation with Artie and Aspen. So what's also some of the features that Aiden's looking for?
So from the first place that he picked out with Aspen, he wanted somewhere that was easily accessible by road. At this point, he doesn't really care too much about that. He wants to make sure that it is completely off the beaten path, and if they have to hike in, they got to hike in. He wants something that is defensible, something that creates at least 180, if not a full 360 view of everything that can come into that new fallback point, and any other natural overall funneling points that they could create. Like, this is the one way that someone could get in if they were to try and locate them. So these are all things all the things that happened at the first place that were failures, he's trying to take those and turn them into successes on his new place.
You spend a good majority of the day moving from location to location. And as you find one location, you kind of move down this checklist in your mind, which isn't necessarily a checklist to you as much as it is you're using all of your senses, sound, smell, sight, to gauge whether it's going to be worthy for the purposes. Not just your lupine senses, but you're calling upon those that you've started to come into touch with in your Hamid form as well. You're trying to think with all of these new abilities that you've come more and more accustomed with over the years. You're trying to think with the limitations you have, no matter what form you're in. So as you check out one location, well, it seems like it would be secure when you're in lupus form. You find that the branches are a little too low when you're in your Hamid form. So if you were to stand up, you'd have to hunch, and it'd be really hard to move around if you were to grow in any size. So maybe it would make a good place to stay low, possibly a good fallback point in lupus form, but it would be a lot harder to navigate in any of your other forms. So you end up crossing that off your list. You find another place, and as you scout out that area, it's good and it's open, but then you find that there is a lot of exposure points. Some that are even too exposed that it gives a glimpse to a nearby roadway. And it would give a straight, direct view to the road. So as you're spending the day, you're moving from location to location, and you're just going further and further inland. And you're finding just something wrong with each location as you go. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. You're getting more and more frustrated with each location. The day passes, and night starts to fall. Darkness starts to creep in, but you're not willing to give up. You're stubborn. You are going to find this place. This is the job you've been tasked with, and you are not going to fail again, because the last time you failed, you almost drowned at the hand of Charles. And you are not going to risk that again. Failure is not an option. You will stay out all night for several nights if it requires that. So as you press into the dark, your visibility lessening, causing you to only see just a few feet in front of you, make a wits and awareness check.
Can I burn a willpower?
Yeah.
Still 3.
Creeping through the underbrush, moving inward, further inland, you hear what you think is kind of the snap of a twig and the kind of swift whoosh of a branch or some kind of pine needles brushing nearby off to your side. But as you turn to look over in that direction, you don't see any movement.
Any smell of anything?
Nothing that you can detect.
Gonna go check it out. Gonna move over to where the snapping and rustling was at.
As you move over to that location, putting your nose to the ground, picking up your ears, trying to detect any other sounds, you inspect that patch of area, and you can't even find anything that would have made that kind of sound. That brush of pine needles. There aren't any pine trees in this area. That's not even native to this area. That was a sound that's almost reminiscent of where you come from, but isn't anything that you would find here. Maybe it was a trick of your mind, maybe it was exhaustion, delirium, but that's not something native to this area. That sound, while it alerted you, couldn't have come from here. There's nothing here, especially so close, that could have made that sound as you investigate the area.
Aiden will take a seat right where he's at, take a few deep breaths, and try and listen further. Because if it's something from his home, he's going to think that the only thing that could be is a spirit trying to reach out from there, or it's his patron trying to tell him something.
Okay.
So he'll sit there and wait.
Roll me a wits, and I'll give you a choice: investigation or occult.
Yeah, not a cult. Another 3.
Okay. As you sit, focusing, trying to open up your awareness beyond just kind of passive awareness, really trying to focus further, you do detect a scent, a familiar but foreign scent. Something unnatural to these surroundings. Something reminiscent, but very, very invasive. You smell snow? You know how snow has a smell? That fresh fallen snow smell?
Right.
It's distinct, but it is definitely not Florida. And as you're sitting there in the damp, hot heat, that chill enters your nostrils. And it's very pointed, it's very distinct, and it's very direct.
Gonna follow.
Tracking that particular scent, staying with it as best as you possibly can, I want you to make another wits and survival check, trying to stay on that scent as best as possible.
Still adding the 2. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn another will. Four.
You are able to stay locked in to this smell of snow. Following this chill on your nostrils, anytime you even start to lose it, that cold, stinging scent is replaced by that hot, sticky humidity. So you're able to like recorrect and catch it again. So as you follow it, you weave through trees, getting into a more dense woodland, getting further away and further from civilization, going deeper into the park possibly than you've ever gone. Eventually, you find yourself so deep in the woods that there's not even lights, ambient light from any sources around. You can't even recall the last time you saw any of those weird constructed towers that the humans have built. As you move, the trees climbing up all around you, eventually there's a break, a clearing, a massive clearing. You follow the scent until it stops in the center of the clearing. As you get to the point that it stops, it almost drops directly into the center of the earth, right to the ground. And at the center of the ground, you see two things. 4 paw prints embedded in the earth, and a willow leaf placed on the ground.
Briefly look down at it, take a look around, and then lick the willow leaf at first, and then consume it.
As your tongue makes contact with the leaf, it almost sticks to your tongue, and you feel that tacky, kind of acidic taste that is all too familiar at this point as it makes contact. But it's not disgusting. You've almost become accustomed to it. And it's something you're growing weirdly fond of, strangely. Like it's like, you know, you've had something disgusting enough times that you're like, aw, home. I don't know why. But as you take the leaf into your mouth, it starts to dissolve and crunch and break up. And you can feel your vision start to swim. And as you start to blink away, and it grows glossy, you blink a few times, and as you lift up, your nose almost bumps until you're nose to nose with a glowing white wolf whose paws are positioned right on top of the paw prints that you saw embedded on the ground. What's up?
Oh, goody. Hi.
Hey,
Didn't know this was your area. If I'm intruding, I'll just head back the other way.
it's not mine.
Well, then move. I want to look.
Duh. You were taking too long.
Well, thank you for the help. I appreciate it.
Don't have forever. Well, I mean, I do. You don't.
I don't. Time's confusing.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Yeah. But no, if you're the one that brought me here, thank you. Nice touch with the leaf.
If they could, like, if a wolf could have like a flat smile, somehow she gives it. Like, things are gonna get worse before they get better.
We just had 2 things that were pretty bad. So you're saying they're going to continuously get worse from that point.
Yeah.
Okay. How bad are we talking?
Pretty bad.
You're very helpful. Are we another storm? People coming in?
You're gonna have to make a choice.
Okay.
You or her.
And which her are we talking about?
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
In the final fight, you or her.
That's a pretty easy choice if I'm thinking of who you're talking about.
You might not be right.
I'm usually not.
Then maybe
Guess
you
we'll
should
have to see.
reconsider.
If it's any of the hers that are close to me, and if it's having to be about a fight, it's going to be me.
It's up to you. You found the place.
Okay. Thank you. And all your fun riddles.
Don't tell them. It's only going to make it worse.
Not great with secrets.
Figure it out. I had to do it too.
Did you make the right choice?
No.
We'll have to kind of see how it goes from that point. Do you know, do you have a rough estimate on when this is going to be happening?
Sooner than you'd like.
As it normally is. Well, then I should probably let them know so we can get this area up and going.
It'll be ready when it needs to be ready.
Yeah. When you made your choice, did you know that you made the wrong one afterwards, or did you know it was wrong while you did it?
It was right when I did it. It was wrong later. I would do it again.
Can you tell me about it?
No.
This place. Can you tell me about this place?
This was a place very special to us. A very long time ago. Even longer than the place we currently reside. It was a place special to the first of us that walked this place. Before those that came from over the sea. It was a holy place. A sacred place. An untouched and wild place. The spirits are very protective of this place. They will welcome you. But you must keep the sanctity of this place as well.
Understood. So now that we're, I wouldn't say friends, but acquaintances, do I get to know your name now?
Not yet.
Do I get to know before my choice?
No. Make the right choice and you will.
We'll see how it goes then. Are the spirits okay if we start making the moves to this place here pretty soon?
Yes.
Well, this has been lovely, but I do have to make a phone call.
That won't work here.
Oh man, that's not going to be great for one of the people.
You have to go a little further. Past the trees.
Okay. I'll see him soon. I'll just let him know. I'll just bring him here, and we'll get this thing going. I'm sure Eliza will be very happy to be here.
Maybe.
She's all about the whole, spirit thing. So. Yep. Okay. He's gonna try and step around her and walk in to take a look at the area.
You do. Pass by. Start to look around. And as you do, you can see that the trees that make up the edge of the glade all seem to grow taller on the umbral side than they do on the physical side. Like sentries, almost like soldiers. The spirits that make up the trees stand like sentinels guarding this glade. Their branches almost like spears at their sides, armed and ready to protect around the edge of the glade. The clearing itself is vast and open. And in the center, the very center of the glade, you can see a spark. A spark of somewhat dormant, untapped energy, power. Something itching, yearning to be awakened, but untapped.
He's gonna take a quick look around. I gotta tell Artie I found it. He's gonna turn back to the White Wolf.
She's gone.
Oh. You know what? If you can hear me, Camelot, I found it. Put that in them history books.
Don't call it that. you hear.
Oh,
That's dumb.
you got a better name?
Not that.
Got literal tree knights. Fine, I won't call it Camelot.
So as you survey the area one last time, the effects of the leaf start to wear off. The hazy vision kind of causing the stinging in your eyes to require you to blink a few more times, and darkness settles in, the trees resuming their regular stance. The only light being the light of the moon kind of coming through the trees into the clearing. The stars up above overhead, some of them kind of hazy amongst the clouds. But you feel that same energy here in this place. You feel a stillness in this clearing that you didn't feel anywhere else in the woods. Everywhere else, there was a strange hum, like an unsteadiness, an uneasiness. Here there is calm. As you head off into the out of the clearing, ready to return, as soon as you step out of those trees, the world resumes. You make your way back to report what you found. We transition to our final scene of the first act. Jester, you are at Greer's, the place that you have taken refuge throughout the storm, unable to return to Lettuce Lake after it flooded after Hurricane Helene and took quite a bit of damage after Hurricane Milton. So you and Eliza and Chloe and Aiden, pretty much a majority of the pack, have been taking refuge at the storage complex for a couple of weeks now. And you find Eliza still sitting, spending a lot of time within the ritual area that she has prepared in one of the storage units, spending a lot of time in contemplation, meditation, when she's not resting or eating. And as you come to speak with her, she looks up and she seems to have taken a lot more time to rest and seems to be more herself than she had been during the process of the storms and when she was a lot more haggard and drained. Jester.
Hey, Eliza. I'll sit down. How are you feeling?
Much better, thank you. What can I do for you?
I was wondering if you could help me contact a spirit about possibly spying on Mary.
Interesting proposal. I could. It's quite an endeavor you're asking for. The spirits around here were still trying to gain their favor, so probably won't come easy and it won't come free. But it could be done. Are you sure that's what you want to do right now?
I need to do something. Sitting here isn't helping. Doing nothing, again, isn't helping.
Well, it never hurts to try, I suppose. Are you, what are you hoping to accomplish?
We haven't been able to get much information on her at all, except for like stories that she's a boogeyman, and like we don't, and supposedly like she has her fingers in every little organization, police and gangs and stuff, but like nothing concrete.
For someone so well connected, she does cover her tracks quite well. She stays hidden, stays on the move. Was one of Ryder's biggest frustrations. He could never seem to pin her down, never get her locked into one place. Made her a lot harder to target, a lot harder to predict.
Right. And so if she's got that much influence to be able to hide on the human side or here, maybe we could try the Umber side where she can't have much influence.
I think I have a few spirits in mind that could assist. They may ask for some things that could be very personal, very precious. It would be quite unwise to refuse them. How far are you willing to go? What are you willing to give? These aren't going to be your typical jaglings or gafflings that I'll be calling upon. Where they're going to go, they're going to need to have quite a bit of strength behind them.
Will it be as much as what the wild asked me to do to you?
Fair point.
I'm willing to give a lot to see this through.
Very well. All right. She starts to scoot back in the circle she's created and kind of sets out a place in front of her for you. And as she does so, she starts lighting some incense around her, gets out a little bowl, sets it in the center, and gestures for you to sit across from her.
I'll move into place and sit across, getting settled in.
She prepares some herbs in the bowl. She lights the herbs. She holds out her hands, palm up, in front of her, and looks into your eyes. Take my hands, child.
I'll take her hands.
Understand that this might be a bit disconcerting. Might be a little uncomfortable. But what I'm about to do, I am in full control of. And I'm doing so willingly. And when it is done, everything is all right. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Good. She closes her eyes. And after a few moments, the bowl starts to spark and smoke starts to billow out of the bowl. And she starts to chant a mantra, different than one you've heard before, but still in that same unfamiliar language. And as she does so, she starts to chant louder and louder and louder. And the smoke from the incense in the bowl continues to billow and billow until her face becomes obscured by the smoke to the point that you can't see her features anymore. After a few moments, the smoke disperses and the chanting stops. Her head is down, her eyes are closed. A few moments pass of silence.
Eliza?
The head twitches slightly, then starts to rise. You can see Eliza's nose twitching a little, her upper lip curling. When she opens her eyes are completely black, filled in, completely beady and black.
Oh, this is what she meant. Okay. Hello?
Well, hello there. Who are you?
I'm malicious Jester.
You smell like blood.
To look down at my body like, I guess that doesn't get cleaned off spiritually, huh?
You smell like guilt and sadness and pain.
I didn't know those had smells.
Everything has smells. What do you want?
I am requesting aid in spying on a vampire, leech, worm creature. Providing information on perhaps where she goes to ground or who she values.
If you wanted that, you should have had one of my kids among your numbers. But you couldn't, could you? Too good for them?
Can I have your name? I've given you mine.
Had a few names in the past. Filth, Forgotten, Rodent, Vermin. Take your pick.
Those don't sound like great names. Do you actually like those names?
You get used to it.
Well, I mean, there's getting used to, and then there's liking something. What do you prefer to be called? Or what would you prefer me to call you?
We'll just go with Rat.
Okay. Rat. Kent, do I know of when he said his, like, who he meant?
Roll me a intelligence and occult.
Oh my god, I got the only success I could ever get.
You know, I would say you probably know that the Bone Gnars have an association with Rat. That's not a hard leap to make.
I don't think there was much of a choice in finding people here. Those of us that came together came here for different reasons. We didn't seek out certain tribes. But I'm sure if any of yours did come, they'd be welcome with open arms.
My kind aren't usually welcome with open anything. We just kind of slither our way in.
Well, this place isn't usual.
I'll say.
We're kind of not usual.
Is that right? What makes you so different?
Look Eliza up and down. We put trust in as someone who isn't even of nation.
This one? Interesting. I've seen others like you use them before, though. It's not that unusual. You're gonna have to do better than that.
I'm not using her. I care about her very much.
Only a charisma and persuasion.
Does my favor count?
No, you're trying to just convince. You're not trying to, like, topple authority here.
Okay. What about my rhetoric specialty?
No, I don't think so either. This isn't like word salad. This is actual, genuine, heartfelt thought. This is your actual belief.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. 6 successes with a crit.
She feels it. She feels your affection. You have her convinced. Huh. Maybe some of mine would be welcome here. We'll see about that. All right. I'm curious now. Curious enough that I came when she called. Curious enough that I'm here to answer. What do you need?
The vampire's name is Bloody Mary. She is...
That's a dumb name.
I didn't come up with it, so don't look at me.
A vampire named Bloody Mary, isn't that kind of like cliche?
A bit, isn't it?
That'd be like
Honestly.
Count Bloodsucker.
Fair. That is kind of like... Yeah, that is a little bit cliche. I guess they don't have the best imagination. She's very strong. She's killed many of our kind. And she's good at hiding her tracks. covering up so that we can't find her by any normal means. So I would beseech if you could track her down, maybe find out where she goes to ground or people she cares about that we could find a weakness for her.
Oh, you want a secret? A big, juicy secret. A hard to find secret.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Must be pretty important to go all the way to the top.
You could say it's a life or death situation.
It's gonna cost you.
What is the price?
I want a secret too. And it better be good. And I'll know if it's good or not.
A personal secret?
Yes. Can't be that difficult. What's something you could tell me that you haven't told anyone?
I saw my dad commit suicide. I didn't know what he was doing at the time because he was just taking a bunch of pills. But I knew something was wrong, but I didn't go and get my mother. I just went to bed when he told me to. And I never told her afterwards.
So you could have stopped it.
Yeah.
You think it was your fault?
Who wouldn't?
I'll take it. On one condition.
What condition?
One of mine is gonna come to you one day and ask for a favor. And when they do, you have to say yes.
Agreed.
I'll find her. And I'll lead you to her. She can't hide from me.
Thank you.
Don't thank me yet. I said find her. I didn't say kill her.
No, that's up to us. But finding her, that's enough for a thank you.
Thank me if you win.
All right.
With that, Eliza's head drops limp. And a moment later, she takes a big deep breath in, blinks a few times, and the black beady eyes are gone, replaced by her own. Oh, well, it's been a while since I've done that. Didn't much care for it. Feels like my insides have been all crawled all over. How did it go?
Well, I mean, you could have said it was possession. Like, I have seen TV.
Hmm.
It may not be the same thing, but you could have at least said that. But it went okay. He agreed, based on some deals made for the future. But yes, he agreed.
Couldn't have said how he was going to do it. So even if I said it was possession, it wasn't going to be like head turning and vomiting or anything like that. I didn't know what he was going to do. So, you know, it's different every time. So didn't know what to prepare you for.
Thank Gaia, was not head turning and vomiting.
No.
But he agreed. He'll find her and he'll share the location with us. Then the rest is up to us.
I hope the cost was worth it.
Didn't seem so bad.
Never seems that way at first.
Suppose so.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to need to lie down after that.
You want me to make you some tea, or
Thank you, I'd like that.
I'll put a kettle on it.
Thank you. With a new direction, with the rat on the hunt, we head to a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. See you shortly. welcome back. In the first half, we saw a deal struck with the spirit of Rat. We saw Artie confess his uncomfortable feelings to Aspen. We saw Aiden find a new home for the pack and possibly a new cairn. We saw Lucas discover an invasive species growing within the botanical gardens. Now, in the second half, Aspen and Jester meet up to discuss what to do about Leon. We are at, well, where are we, Aspen? If you were asked to meet with Jester, where would you want to have this meeting?
Honestly, probably at the apartment, just
Okay.
because it's secluded and cozy and comfortable.
Okay, so we find ourselves at Artie's apartment, Artie and Aspen's apartment, as it's pretty much that now. The apartment has improved over time. It is no longer the bro pad it used to be, although Artie's corner, his computer setup, is still very much the same. The rest of the apartment has improved gradually over time, taking on a more homey feel, as Aspen and Artie have formed more and more of a life together. But now Aspen and Jester find themselves sat on an actual couch, not just a mattress that took up most of the living room before. The scene is yours.
Good to see you outside of a storage unit.
Yeah. This place is looking good. Definitely better than it gets better every time I see it.
We keep the vending machine. I think it's a nice little touch, but I've put my touch on things for sure.
It's a nice touch. It's good to see you too. So have you gotten any information?
I've gotten some information on Leon.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I didn't know we were just gonna, run right into that. I thought we were gonna do like pleasant. It's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, I did get some information. I talked to Spud. And there's a couple of options. We've got the option of letting Leon sweat it out, or we could have some intervention. Help from Spud is another option that we have available to us. That's most of the information that I got so far, but it could take some time for him to detox, I guess is the best word.
Nah. I talked to Charles. He said he's already starting to exhibit some effects of withdrawal, like at the very beginning stages, so it's starting.
Made any thoughts on what you want to do about that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna do any good, honestly. I wanted to do this because I wanted his, I guess, mind cleared as much as it could be, but they were already messing with his mind before he got addicted to them. What's left?
I am worried that him already being exposed to all of that, and although we could get him to a point that he would be better, or at least we assume he'll be better, I don't know where I see him going from there.
Yeah. I guess I don't either.
understand you've lost a lot already. And the last thing I would want is for you to lose someone else again. But I'm afraid that you might be too far gone.
I'll take care of it.
Listen, if it's something you want to try, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But if you need me to take care of it, I can take care of it.
I'll take care of it. Um, you should probably also know that I talked to Rat, the spirit rat, and after some negotiation, he agreed to find where Bloody Mary goes to ground.
A really big step in the right direction.
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody's going to be really excited to hear that.
I kind of figured since we were running into every roadblock we could trying to find any information about her normally, talking to the spirits might be a good idea. So, yeah.
How did that
When
go? Did you manage to find spirit?
Eliza let him take possession, summoned him. I don't know. It was weird. It wasn't anything like the movie, so it wasn't as bad as like, or dramatic. Like, so he kind of just talked through her. Yeah, it was weird. We talked. He didn't think that we would welcome any of his people. I told him this is not the same kind of place like other places. It's a bit different, and that we'd most likely welcome any of them pretty much with open arms. I mean, at this point, we can take who we can get, right? As long as they're not cults or black spiral dancers.
Beggars can't be choosy at this point, I guess.
Right?
But really, Jester, like that's great news. It's wonderful news. But are you sure you want to take care of that by yourself?
Yeah. If I had any of you do it for me, I don't think I would like you very much afterwards. And I'm not putting that on anyone.
That's fine. But if you like me to, I'll be there with you. You should have somebody there with you. It's not an easy thing to go through alone.
I'll think about it.
I wish I could save you from everything you've been through. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's all right. I don't think. I don't know how anyone could save me from what I've been through. So, just have to deal with it.
You don't have to deal with it alone.
I know. I have you, the pack. That's what makes it worth it.
Okay. I just want you to be okay.
know.
I'm gonna hug you now. Cool?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll hug her back.
It's a long, quiet embrace. Silence hangs in the air, but it's not an uncomfortable silence, because despite this task being taken freely, a task being passed from alpha to pack member, an order of execution, one might say, the bond that has been forged between the two of you over the past year is so strong. One that goes beyond friendship. One that many might say is stronger than family. The pack dynamic is stronger than most mortal humans can ever possibly understand. It is something unfathomable. And when it comes to Guru, creatures that are part spirit, part wolf, and part human, it takes on a supernatural, ethereal quality. So this bond that has been forged, the closest thing to magic one could define. So even though Jester has faced many trials, has probably endured some of the greatest pain anyone could ever feel, and even though what she has to do might be one of the worst things she's ever done, and that's a lot considering some of the things she's been through, for a moment, a brief moment, in this moment, it's truly comforting. Being held by Aspen, her friend, her family, her leader. Someone that she has put such faith, such belief, such trust. Aspen is her compass in this. She is trusting that this is the right decision to make, and that this is the thing that must be done. Will that resolve hold when it's time for it to actually happen? Only time will tell. A few hours later, we find the pack gathered once again. Back at Greer's, the storage facility. It's late in the evening. Aiden, you've returned from your outing, seeking out the location. It's the same night. Aspen, you called this meeting together. Everyone has seen to their various tasks, but here they all are. The scene is yours.
Well, it's been crazy. It's been very crazy. A lot has happened. We have a lot to talk about now that we've got a moment to breathe, I think.
Breathes a complicated word.
Very true. Even if it's manually, there's been a moment. I think the most important thing to talk about right now is what we're going to sacrifice.
Artie clears his throat. I haven't asked for a lot. And I know it's really, really selfish of me to ask for this considering everything that's at stake. And if it's the only option, I'll understand. Please don't take Regina from me.
I don't think that was an option for any of us.
It's the one that
Jeez.
makes the most sense. I understand that. But it's. What else do we
It's
have to give that's. I just. What's gonna appease a storm spirit? What do we have? Like, we're. It just.
Why do you think it has to belong to us?
It's a sacrifice.
Sacrifices are important things to people, not necessarily just us.
I think for it to be meaningful, it has to be something from us.
Could it be something we utilize? Not necessarily like us, but like Lucas said, humans utilize. They might be without for a little bit. But I agree, Regina's not going anywhere.
No.
Literally came to the Umbra with us, then no.
I don't know much about spirits, obviously. I say that more often than I probably should as pack leader. But I think trying to manipulate or skirt around the responsibility that we were given and the request we were given by a spirit is probably not going to bode well for us, especially since we just had to fight to get back in their good neutral graces. I think it's probably got to be from us specifically.
I don't know, I just think it's a big ask. Like, specifically from us.
Well, we're trying to prove ourselves to him.
It was a slight from the Guru as a whole. And the only ones that are here are us and Charles and Eliza.
I think it's an honor thing. Will we honor the promises and the deals we make?
I think we have a few options. None of them are great options. And again, I never was going to put Regina in the mix. And I want you to know that, Artie. But the apartment is something we have. The RVs are something that we have.
Greer's is something we have. And honestly, it holds the history of the previous Cairn, as Eliza is like our living history. It's kind of a static history, which means it does fit under being of the Weaver, I think.
I agree that the storage unit is something that we have and that has some history for us and our culture here. But I think based off of spirits, they probably want something that means more than just history. Something that means something to us. They wanted to take Eliza.
I don't really want to say it, but there is one. Nobody's gonna like it. There's the cairn. Yeah, Grandmother Willow's there, and it's the cairn, but it's literally a graveyard. Look how much concrete is there.
That's a good point.
Look how
Do you know
many
what we went through to make that happen?
And that is why it's a sacrifice. You said it wanted to mean something. Like I said, nobody was gonna like it.
Everything we've done to this point is for that cairn to get that cairn up and running and to have it be a piece of what we're doing here. That would be counterproductive from what we're doing here. I'd rather give up both the RVs, the apartment, and the storage unit than give up the cairn.
But it's a relic. It's a relic to failure.
But the favors we had to call in to make that happen.
It's exposed. They know about it. It's haunted with all of the dead of the past. I know. I agree. And I don't like it either, but I see what she's saying. I gotta admit, I see what she's saying. We were already talking about what do we have to do if we have to run, right? We're already talking about the possibility we're going to have to fall back, right? What are we planning for if not to fail? To lose it.
Those are contingency plans. Those aren't just openly handing them over. That's not the same thing. This is something in case something bad happens. I understand that, but to just openly give it up to something when we've worked this hard for it.
It's Joseph's cairn. Joseph left. It was his. He
Died,
picked the spot.
technically.
I meant Joseph the Theurge. Like
Oh, sorry, wrong Joseph.
he picked the spot and then he built it and he left. It's a ghost council cairn, and there's no ghost council here.
Tactically speaking, right? Let's come at this from an angle of where we are now and where we're going. Tactically speaking, it's a complete act of idiocy for us to give up any singular thing. We are not winning, and we do not have good prospects. So giving up anything of genuine tactical value is a mistake. So the question is, what has the least amount of tactical value?
I think we're not looking at this exactly right, so I'm going to ask a question. Do you think the RVs are worth Eliza's life in trade? What do you think is worth Eliza's life in trade? Because that's what he is asking for.
Do you think that the RVs are worth it to the spirit that controls the hurricanes that come through this area? A couple of RVs? This has got to mean something.
You were ready to give up something from people, not from us at all. So why the change of heart to the RVs are now not enough?
Oh, yeah, I was going to absolutely suggest we set explosives and blow up all the bridges going in and out of Tampa. What's more Weaver than that? Man conquering the quest across water. Symbolic. And when we go to strike the leeches, they're only going to have one way out. Through us, east of the city.
They're saying lock them in.
Yep.
That's going to get a lot of attention. Like a lot of
Yeah.
attention on a national level.
Yeah. This is storm. This is hurricane.
That sounds
Maybe
like it's helping us more than us making a sacrifice.
why can't both things be true? I mean, it was my first shot, aim for the moon. We could have negotiated down.
I don't think we're doing the bridges thing. I like where your head's at, Lucas. That's just we're not doing that.
Okay, so what tactically is least significant that we can get the most gain from? Because if we're just giving up a thing to giving up a thing, what are we even doing here?
Losing.
Yes.
All right, short of the bridges, let's bring it back a couple notches from 10 maybe to 6. What else is there?
If we insult it in any way, if we offend it, if we don't take this seriously or don't consider this right, we saw what it did just because we weren't tough enough on Eliza, what it was going to bring against us. It's giving us a chance to make right. If it and spirits, they see through us. They know our motives better than we do, I think sometimes. They can read us like a book. If they detect us trying to be deceptive or trying to get one over on them, they're going to clap back, as the kids say. We got lucky this last time. I think realistically it has to be something we lose. I think it does. But I think we can use it to our advantage. Because I think we don't have to lose it before we gain something from it. I think if we are willing to sacrifice something truly great, perhaps we can put a condition in there Perhaps we can buy some time to sacrifice it after what we need it to do is done.
How long do we have to make this happen again?
Kent, how much time do we has passed?
At this point, you have about 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Okay.
We'll let them know, at least.
Is Eliza there?
Mm-hmm.
Gonna turn towards Eliza. What do you know of a place deep in Hillsborough? Like, I mean, out there. And there's a big clearing, but these trees are huge. And there is something in this large clearing in the center of it that has a pole, something to it, similar to other cairns that I've been to. Something similar. There's a lot of that juice there. Do you know do you know where I'm talking about?
I do.
Idea. That was gonna be my idea for a fallback. It's off the road. It's way in the back. There's rivers that come adjacent to it, so it's hard to get to. There's something there. If we're gonna wait to give up something of importance, maybe use that time and work on that place that I found. Because we're going to give up something big. Let's take that idea and just move it, and then it's just a place that it's taking the concrete and all that, so that way the sacrifice is done. But we aren't losing anything. We'll just have it somewhere else. Am I making sense?
Fundamentally, the tree can be moved. It's not nearly as complicated as you think it is to move a whole tree.
Getting to that spot might be difficult.
Yes, but it's an option.
We got 3 weeks. Maybe I show you guys what I'm talking about. Like, next couple days, we go take a look at Eliza. If you could, that'd be great. If you could make it, it's a bit of a hike. I'll carry you if need be.
I'm not that old.
No, but you are old.
I can make it out there. I know the place you talk of.
Go there. Eliza can do her thing, and then we can go further from that point.
Wouldn't necessarily need the whole tree.
And as far as the tactics point, it's 360 all the way around, and there's rivers that will funnel if someone were to try and get to us.
I appreciate your desire to. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but Grandmother Willow will not be moved. She is far too old. Her roots have gone far too deep. And she is already a partition of herself. To separate her anymore would be to destroy her. There would be nothing left if you tried to separate her any further. There would be a tree for certain, but there would be no spirit within it. The spirit remains where it stands.
That place has a lot of spirits. Nothing against Grandmother Willow, but there's a lot, and the spirit said that we are more than welcome and they'll let us in. I've only really been a part of the whole Karen building thing once, but Eliza, is it possible to talk to one of them to do the thing again?
I can tell you, I have long ago inquired about that place. I went there once when I was first came upon this area, when I was first learning about this area. That is a very ancient and sacred ground. It is imbued with great purpose, great history. It is truly pure, truly sacred. One of the reasons that it has remained hidden, remained secret, is because I refused to let anyone know where it was. For a reason. That reason being, it wouldn't stay that way for long if it was discovered. People bring back their malice, they bring back their pain, they bring back their hatred, they bring back their anger, their stubbornness, their fear. Plus, to make it the place it would need to be, to truly awaken it, would require more than a typical cairn requires. It would require a binding far beyond what a typical cairn awakening is. Those that awaken that cairn, like the ones who awakened it before, will never leave it. When their time is done on this plane, in this land, they will remain with that cairn. The first, those trees that stand sentinel, those are the first. That is one of very few sacred places left on this world. If you want to truly believe that there is any hope left for Gaia, that is the only place you'll find it. And if that is where you want to go, to build, to start, you have to know what you are asking for and what you are offering and what you are doing. There is no going back. This isn't like the cairn you've built here. This is eternal. Your service to Gaia will never end. But it can be done. In the meantime, it is a place that will be quite safe. It is a good fallback point. It is a place for temporary respite. But to truly awaken it, to truly make it a cairn as great as it once was, you will be bound to it. Truly bound to it. And thus bound to Gaia like you have never been bound before. Others may come through, like a sept does, but those that found it will never leave.
Will it still need 13 of us again?
There weren't 13 the first time.
How many were there?
There were 9 the first time. I do not believe there is a required amount. I believe it is those who truly pledge themselves. And if their hearts are pure, and their intent is just, and their commitment is sincere, it will be done. But you have to understand, this is no Garou nation. This is not politics. This is greater than any stargazer secret. This is why. This is one of those things we don't tell the nation. This is one of those things we don't speak about. Something that they might consider heresy.
Then how are we supposed to get more people, more of the nation here?
Oh, it's a
If they-
cairn once it's open. Once
But
it's
to them, it's just a cairn.
to them it's
That's
just a
what you
cairn.
mean. I understand.
It's a place of power. Great power. They don't understand what was required in the opening of it. They don't understand the true commitment that was forged with it.
Well, I've pretty much been a fuck up ever since I changed. so I might as well do something good. I'm game.
So when you say we are bound to this cairn, to this place, that means we can't go and we can't join other cairns, or we can't, like, we're bound to the area. Like, we can't go outside of the bounds.
Oh, you can travel, certainly. As well, as long as you have flesh, as long as you have life, you will still be able to live like any normal individual. But when you pass, when your time in this world is done, you will return. And you will serve.
Gaia picked me for a reason. Might be for eternally protecting that cairn. Yeah, I'm in.
There is no passing on to see your loved ones beyond.
I don't want to see them anyway. I'd rather hang out with you nerds.
Jester.
I already said I wasn't leaving this place. I suppose I can stay here even after death.
Ready?
Only if you do.
What a leader would I be if I didn't?
Okay, hold on. Question, is Charles here also?
No.
Okay. So we're not gonna tell Charles this, right?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I'm already gonna have to listen to you and Artie forever. 2 silver fangs? I'm not okay with that.
Not mentioning the other ones that could already be there,
Oh shit, yeah.
right?
Might have to rethink this.
I will
I'll
say
stand next to you.
this. It will be open the first new moon of the new year. Until then, it will take a great deal of preparation. Preparation I am willing to do if this is something you wish. You can decide until then if you wish to tell him, to give him that opportunity. But there is risk associated with it. He is connected to the nation at large. And the stargazer of it all tends to come with some issues. But I will prepare the place.
What about you, Eliza? Are you already bound, or can you come be bound with us?
I am not bound.
But do you want to see Orion again?
If I were to
We-
do this, I would never be able to.
I know. We look around. I don't think any of us have anybody Garu-wise waiting on the other side, but you do.
If I don't do this, you won't be able to. And as much as the idea pains me of never being able to see my boy again, I know that where he is loved. And he is not alone. And this is something he would want me to do. So if that helps your decision, that's something to consider.
So all of this to say, if that's ultimately what we decide, then we give up the cairn. Is that what we're saying?
I think it's a lateral, if not an upgrade in a sense. If it's as strong as the spirits told me and as strong as Eliza's saying, if anything, it's a lateral transition. Like they get that place, but we still get to keep a cairn.
We would be sacrificing something we built. Something that we put our blood, sweat, and tears into, something we sacrificed for. Something we spent the last year for. Now, this does raise the issue of us being potentially homeless until the new year, but
Well, Eliza, or someone said, I'm sorry, there's so much happening in my brain right now, that we could wait, we could have like a contingency, right? If we say something like, hey, wait until the new year, like, and you can have the whole thing. Can we do that?
well, I don't know about the new year, but I think maybe we could say like the end of the storm season. That'll get us till mid-November. But that means we gotta move on Mary.
I mean, if we're gonna lose it, send it out with a bang, right? If we're gonna lose something, we might as well get something out of it, right? Let's bring her there and fight her.
You want to call her out? It's not a bad idea.
We got a better shot there than anywhere else.
And then we do all of this, Bloody Mary aside, because we still got to figure out where she's at. Jester has stuff about that. But Willow.
See what she wants to do. Be honest with her. She might understand. She might get it.
Or she might not, and it might go very badly. She's an elder spirit of the area. And she was a really hard to win over ally.
But like you said, she's gonna know through us if we try lying to her anyway. So I think being upfront about everything is gonna be better for us. Yeah, she's gonna be upset, but at least we're not lying to her. And who knows, maybe she already knows about this area and she'll totally be on board about it.
Maybe.
Is everyone on board with the other Karen?
Yeah.
100% full in.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Okay, party.
You go, I go.
Okay, decision's made then.
Path is chosen. A destiny lays before the pack. Destiny's a funny thing. Being bound to a destiny can sometimes feel like a ball and chain around your leg, dragging you down, 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 holding you in one place like an anchor. For good or for evil remains to be seen. But if it means fighting for Gaia, a task you were chosen to do, maybe it's worth it if you're surrounded by the right people. Thank you so much to these incredible players. Thank you to everybody watching at home. If you're interested in the world of darkness, come join us. Go follow us on all the social media listed down below and come join our Discord community where you can get in on one-shots. There are new tables opening all the time and there are options to get involved and learn about the world of darkness. And yeah, just come join our community. It's a great place to be, and we would love to have you there. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be live this Saturday with another After Dark where we'll be talking to some of our one-shot STs who've been running one-shots on the server over the past few months. And then we'll be back on Tuesday with the next episode of Rage Across Tampa, so join us then. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a good evening, everybody.